Urban Media Today talks sports with Ray Porter Jr., Vince Butts, and Trevin A. Jones on Urban Media Today Radio.
It's game time!
It's Urban Media Today talks sports. We got Coach William Greg Hoyd Jr. We got Keith Platt Jr. We got Ray Porter Jr. We got Trevin A. Jones Jr. No, I'm not a junior. We got our man Derek Bryan on the line. But we do have another junior, and that's the head coach of Howard University football, Coach Larry Scott Jr. And we're talking about the Howard University football team. We're talking about black college football as well. We're also talking about the impact of COVID-19 having on the season this season. Earlier this week, if you didn't know, the MEAC made the announcement Thursday that the fall season, all sports, was going to be postponed. And that's interesting. Coach, you were talking about the coaching staff. Did you know Pee Wee was, or Devon Johnson, did you know he was a quarterback coach? Did you know he was a quarterback at one time?
He had to tell me, and I had to look at him like,
again, right?
Right. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, yes, you can see it. You get into a conversation with him about the game and those type of things when we're just sitting and talking football, when he didn't know that he was being interviewed, that he was being interviewed. Wow. That type of thing, you could see it come off that he's a very knowledgeable young coach that's, still impressionable and still learning and still growing, but does a fantastic job. So I can't tell you how fired up I am to have him on our staff.
Man, and he's an awesome person. I don't know if I'm supposed to call him Pee Wee, but that's what we were calling him. We were calling him Pee Wee, Coach Johnson.
Well,
and
I
then
had
Coach Kelton.
tell him, I said, hey, enough of allowing players and stuff to call you Pee Wee. At some point, you got to get across that threshold and be, and be Devon or Coach Johnson, because your name is Devon now. It ain't Coach all the time. Yeah. But, oh man.
Got it. And then Coach Kelton actually got a win last year, interim head coach at the end of the season, I guess, against Morgan State, picked up that first win, which is awesome. And it's awesome to see him around as well. I mentioned those two because it's two coaches that I know that you had from last season to this season, which is awesome. Now, you were talking about recruiting, you were talking about your coaching staff, and again, I'm pumped up just listening to you talk about the Howard University football. And I went to Norfolk State, coach, so I'm a Spartan. So I always tell people, whenever you see a Spartan riding on the back of a bison to the promised land, that's me.
I got you. Okay, good.
But I know
yes,
I know Coach Hoyd had some questions for you. I know Keith and Ray had some questions as well. So go ahead, fellas. I'll step back for a second.
Yeah. Hey, Coach, this is Keith Platt Jr. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
So what was your reaction, man, when Kayla Newton decided to transfer from there?
You know what? I tell you what, it was a bit of a different deal. I had a couple conversations with him, and one of the things that I wanted to really do is sit down and hear him out. I didn't want to talk. I just wanted to listen. I just wanted to listen to everything and what his experiences have been and what all led to some of the decisions and choices that he had made at that point to leave the team during the season, and then obviously to graduate and leave the program. And at that point, just through listening to the young man, which I think a lot of times coaches and people, we get ahead of ourselves, sometimes. We don't want to listen to what people have to say and why they have arrived to the decision that they arrived to. I just listened, and what I wanted to really do is make him feel comfortable with who I was as the new head coach, and kind of talking through a little bit of what our program is going to be all about. And then let him come to a decision that was obviously comfortable for him. Because in our program, we have standards and we have core values. And at the end of the day, if he was in a place to think that something was going to be different for him other than what was going to be requested and demanded of everyone on our football team, I didn't want him to have that idea. Okay, I didn't want him to have that type of mindset and mentality as to what this was going to be all about. We're very demanding as a coaching staff. As far as doing the little things right and those things. I'm not saying that he wasn't up for that or not good with that or all those things. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I just wanted to make sure that at the end of the day, I didn't want him to feel like he was being recruited back to a place that he was already at, if you understand what I'm saying. Your feet are on the ground, your butt's in the seat right here where you are. And you've done a lot of really good things for this program and for yourself. And if you want to continue to do that, here's what we're going to do, and here's how we're going to do it. Okay, I want you to come around us, get to know us, see us, listen to us, talk to us, because the only thing that was going to heal those wounds that he had from his experiences, past experiences, is going to be time. And at the end of the day, as long as we were transparent and very vulnerable as people, but very, stern on who we are and how we want to continue to turn this program around, it was going to take time. And in that time period, I guess he found himself and found that, Auburn and transferring to Auburn was going to be a better opportunity and a better place for him. And I wish him nothing but the best of luck. Would have loved to have him. Would have loved to have him be a part of what we're doing. But at the end of the day, I wanted him to make a choice that where his heart was going to be in, because it was going to take his heart to be a part of what we want to do and where we're taking the program. So he chose what that was best for him, and I wish him nothing but the best of luck.
Definitely.
Cool.
Definitely.
Good stuff. I had a question for you as well, Coach. Had a chance to review your resume. Very decorated. Congrats on an incredible career. And, started from a player to an assistant coach to a head coach. And I was trying to think of this question to ask you, wondering if you've already answered it in some way, but I'll ask it anyway. With everything that you've accomplished and everything that you've seen, ranging from a player to an assistant coach to a head coach, what's one trait or ethic that you share and impart to players? I mean, what's one, if there was a top one that you always share, impart to?
A top what?
Top, like ethic.
Oh, I tell you what, and that's a really, really good question, because at the end of the day, you see so many coaches get stuck in so many different cliches and slogans and sayings and all of this kind of stuff. At the end of the day, I think the one thing that any of the players that I've ever been around and coached, and one of the things that I hinge everything that I do on, is honesty. Period. At the end of the day, and sometimes honesty don't feel good. Sometimes honesty being heard don't make you light up, right? And sometimes it does. And at the end of the day, honesty builds trust, and trust builds respect. And as long as we can have those three very important characteristics within building a team, we'll always be a stable football team, because we'll become transparent that way. And when we can be transparent and honest and trust and respect each other, that builds love. And that builds family. Everybody wants to break everything down on family, right? 1, 2, 3, family. Oh, you're family. Okay, right. You ain't built trust. They don't trust you. They don't know you. They don't do any of those things, but they just use the cliche old word family because that's what we're supposed to say, right? So I think at the end of the day, for me, it's always been built around just, hey, from the first part, one of our the very, very first core value we have in our program, because we don't have rules. I don't do things by a code of rules. I do things by a code of values. Because that's how you build a person. And the first one is honesty. And the number one person that's important to be the most honest with is yourself first. And if we can build everything else around honesty, then comes trust, then comes respect, and then obviously family and love and all of those things come into play. And you don't have to worry about all of those things outside of the program being negative enforcers or stimulators or all those type of things of something that's built strong on the right foundation the right way. So I would say honesty.
All right, dope. So, Coach, so let's talk about, 5 stars, no stars, 1 star, 2 star, media, write-ups, all the hype, the hype on the circuit, the 707. Yeah. I run a recruiting service, and I heard a coach on it really kind of threw me off, not on a podcast, it was like a Zoom meeting, and he said he doesn't use outside third-party recruiting services. Now I see it, I'm saying, how did I say that? Because they use 24/7 Sports, they use Rivals. I know I'm dropping some names right here, but I'm like, so how do you guys feel about a service coming in and helping you navigate, or do you embrace outside services for recruiting?
I think I'm all good with that. One of the things that I always try to assess when using a third party, though, is what their intentions are. What are your very intentions of why you're doing this, why you're pushing the kid, why you're doing all these type of things? Is it to really, truly invest into helping the kid, or are you trying to help your pockets? Which one stands out first and foremost? Because at the end of the day, if you help the kid, you help your pocket. If you're helping multiple kids and you're building a foundation built, again, through trust and all those type of things, then absolutely I think you should keep third parties involved, because not a third party's intention is just to help young people and help you reach the young people that necessarily, sometimes schools like us don't have necessarily all the time, the budget to get to. but you can enforce and use a third-party entity that has a really good intention into helping the kid, then absolutely I think you should. I think you need to be very, very careful in your vetting of who that is that you're involving as a third party, and what are their intentions, and what intentions do they have of the kid? Who are they connected to? I've been around and seen it all, man. From Miami, Tennessee, you got guys that are third parties that are involved with agents. Then all of a sudden there's agents talking to kids and doing things for families, and their eligibility and all those things are now in jeopardy and all those things because they weren't good people. So, I think the vetting process of using third parties becomes a very, very important issue when you do that. And as long as people have the right intentions, I have no problem paying third parties if we can, as far as for their services and how we use them, as long as their intentions are very, very embedded into the whole idea of helping young people be able to reach schools that they can't necessarily get to, or the school can't necessarily get to them, and things of that nature. And also just as somebody who you trust that has a very, very good grasp of the environment and culture that some of these kids that they're representing come up in. Because at the end of the day, when you become the go-between as a third party, you become the representative of them and their brand and who they are and how they're being raised. And basically, at the end of the day, we're taking your word to bring into our organization, which is an academic institution, that we're very, very highly held to our feet are to the fire on with what type of person this is. Can we put this person in, can we put this kid into this environment and him thrive? And sometimes people lose sight of all of that and what it means when you get involved with being a connector of young people to things that move them and help elevate them. As long as you have the right intentions and all of those things, then I absolutely have no problem using a third party. I think they can be really, really useful, and I think they can be really, really a big piece of building a program. I really do.
How much of that? I mean, how much of that for? Now let's talk about the transfer portal. So you got third party. Now you got the transfer portal. NCAA actually acting as a third party where players can actually go into the portal, right? From a Michigan, from a Washington, from a Connecticut. Coach us up on that. I mean, how are you guys handling that? You got 15 commits. Go ahead.
I mean, I think the portal has its good and its bad. Okay, let's admit to it. And I think it's what side of it in which you come from. And when dealing with the portal, that's you're going to represent what you think the portal means to you. I think really honestly, at the end of the day, I think the portal was built for with good intentions because of what you see some coaches do in this business, which is move around, jump around, take the very next, what they still feel is the very next best opportunity for them in their career and those type of things. I think the portal was built to basically bring some equilibrium for players to have the same access to make the same decisions if some things don't go their way, so to speak. I think it's taking and cutting some of the legs out from under the true essence of coaching, which is to develop. And it led to a safe space for kids to run to, just like these new high school transfer rules, where you can bounce around whenever somebody disappoints you or you feel like something didn't go your way or whatever. This is what the portal has become for college sports. And I think at the end of the day, it's killing the very essence of what it meant to be committed to something, to grow through something, to develop, to all of those type of things. So I think it's more, and to be very honest and candid, I think it's more of a toilet right now to flush out bad stuff. Wow. When you have players that quite frankly are lied to through the recruiting process and told various things and told different things that they hinge their decision on, and they get there and they find out that that's not the case. Or the coach that recruited them there and those type of things told him that he was going to be there forever, and as soon as they get the signature, 2 days later, he's on the next jet smoking to Alabama. Those type of things. So I think it's become a very ugly reality for the side of it that can come from the coaching side, but then it's become a kind of a safe space, so to speak, for some kids who really want to try to get it right and find the right place for them, because they were too many variables and different things came into play to helping them influence their decision early on in the process and need to find the right spot. So I'm kind of, indifferent sometimes towards the portal. I know if you're building a program through the portal or you have an access to kids through the portal, you're not doing something right as a program, whether you're building it or kids are leaving your program. You need to check some of your program philosophies and see where you're losing it right now.
Good stuff. Howard University head football coach Larry Scott. Coach Scott, this is the end of the third quarter. We're going to take a quick break and come back with the final quarter. But you mentioned three things. You mentioned honesty, accountability, and you also mentioned speaking about family. And that's when I first came to Howard, and people don't realize, Coach, and Coach Hoyd was talking about recruiters and bringing new people in. An HBCU program is a family. So you're actually bringing people into your family. And I liked what I learned the acronym at Howard 4 years ago under Coach Flea, where the football team was saying it's family, and they wore T-shirts saying family. And he said it stood for forget about me, I love you.
Love you.
So I thought that was awesome. I thought that was deep. We're going to take a quick break, come right back with Howard University head football coach Larry Scott Jr., who's also a Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan. Got to throw that out there because I'm a Tampa Bay Buck fan too. We'll be right back after this timeout on Urban Media Today Talk Sports.
Urban Media Today is your source for entertainment, news, sports, and lifestyle. It's your online resource for health and fitness, providing tips to decrease your heart disease or increase your good spirits. When you can't find who made the top picks in HBCU sports or what part of the country is most exciting or affordable to travel with the entire family, Urban Media Today is there to provide you with all that you need and just a click away. Log on to urbanmediatoday.com now. Find us on social media. Urban Media Today, your lifestyle information and blog website.